Okay guys, we're gonna start with the communicative leash work process. This is a process that has worked for thousands of client dogs, my own dogs, and it's the foundation for all of our training. It's a pressure release style training. So when we put pressure on the dog, we're asking them for compliance, for obedience. When we release the pressure, that is telling them that they've made the right decision and they've given us the right behavior that we're asking for. So it's the first thing that we start with, and we recommend before you do any other training, and it's the training that is the foundation for all the other exercises. So we start with a slip lead in this exercise. So this is a 3/4, there's 3/8 width slip lead. The size does matter. We'll talk about that on another video. But the slip lead goes high up behind their ears. There's a carabiner on here for safety if you take the dog outside. Each exercise is going to build on the next. And I've got my dogs here to show the after. So we're going to work on getting Polly into this position on an unfixed surface. That's a fixed surface. That's a place bed, which we'll get to later. So the first thing we're going to do is follow me. Follow me and yield to me. You don't need a big space to do this, guys. I'm in my basement, and you just need a small space. If you do it on rubber or a carpet, something that the dog is not going to slip on will be helpful. You don't need a big space, and you're just going to walk around in an oval shape. I don't have any treats on me right now. I'm just using the leash as a communication tool. So this is a series of steps that we put together, and that's called, again, the communicative leash work process. Follow me. I'm asking her to follow me on the leash. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I take the leash across my body here. I put my hand in the handle. I have my left hand on the leash. You should put your least dominant hand over the side that you're going to work the dog, so you know that you're not relying on your physical pressure to manipulate the dog. So I have the leash across my body like handlebars. Okay, I keep my hand on the leash. I don't let the leash slide through my hand. Keep the leash in the same spot. Okay, so I'm going to walk forward. When I cut to the left, that is yield to my space, and I'm giving her a little pressure to get out of my way. That's a sign of respect. So follow me, and then yield to my space. So follow me is like when God asks us to follow him. You know, we don't want to get ahead of him. When he cuts us off and goes in a different direction, are we going to follow him? That's a sign of respect. And I'm tapping the leash to tell her to get behind me here. So when I cut to the left, she is giving me respect. Giving me obedience. I'm just tapping the line to tell her to get in line. When I cut to the left, again, that's yielding to my space. So follow me. There should be no pressure on the line. You have to do this as many times as you need to until you get the dog. If you stop, your dog should stop with you, right next to your side. You know, the release of pressure, again, is the reward. You can pet your dog. I don't have treats on. Sometimes treats overstimulate the dog, over-amplify them, and it's not helpful. So keeping the leash across your body, I'm asking her to stay tuned in to me. If she gets focused on anything else in the room, I can put a little pressure on to keep her tuned in, and I release the pressure when she's complied and when she's back tuned in to me. There's lots of distractions in the world, right? The enemy tries to distract us with lots of things, and God is always trying to bring our attention back to him, the most important thing in life. And that's when we can relax. So, again, throughout the whole series, I'm going to be pointing out the body language and the stress signals. So right now, Polly is relaxed. She has no stress signals on her forehead. Polly was a rescue, and again, this training works for all dogs, all behavior issues, but especially for rescue dogs that tend to have emotional issues from being bounced around so many times in homes. So this training is about changing the way the dogs feel about the world, and also hopefully helping the humans feel better about the world and build our relationship with God and Christ, and find peace in our life, you know, the peace that we've been looking for and the dogs are looking for. So when we acknowledge their stress signals by using the leash as a communication tool, they feel understood, they feel heard, their feelings are acknowledged. You know, so when we go to God and say, you know, with our feelings, he can talk to us about them, and then, you know, we feel understood. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to start walking. So follow me. She's following me. I'm tapping the leash. When I cut to the left, again, I'm giving her pressure to get out of my way. Good job, Polly, right? She's doing very good. So you do this as many times as you need to. And now it's looking like a dance. So stop, Polly. In any relationship, it should look like a dance. So this is about building a relationship. You know, it's not about religion. People say, well, I'm not religious. Well, Jesus came to destroy religion. He came to build a relationship with us. This is about a relationship with your dog. So it should look and feel like a dance. You're communicating with them. They're communicating with you the whole time that you're working with them. So I'm going to do it again, and you should do this as many times as you need to. I'm just putting a little pressure on her to stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. Don't leave me and focus on something else. Right? Again, this is what Jesus says. So I'm hoping that these videos help bring prodigal children home, prodigal sons and daughters, because I was one of them. And so that's what, I'm hoping that it helps people do. So here we go again. Polly, come with me, right? Follow me. Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. Polly, come. So when she wants to get focused on something else, I just remind her, right? And do it as many times as you need to. Until you can cut that corner. I'm giving her a little bit of pressure. Polly, come, to not cut me off. And that is a sign of respect. So many dogs, guys, thousands of dogs. Stop, Polly. Thousands of dogs that I worked with. This is the first thing that we do with them because they've stopped looking to their owner for leadership. They've stopped looking to the human to lead them because they've been relying on their own. We stop looking to God and Jesus for leadership, because we're so busy trying to figure it out on our own. So then we don't look to him because not a lot of people have, teach us how to have a relationship with him. So this is important. It's the first thing that we should start with. Practice this every day, once a day with your dogs. If you have more than one dog in your pack, do it once a day with each dog. And so it's so simple. You're just walking around, in a circle. Okay, and the next thing we're going to add is a sit to this. So we're going to layer this on. So Polly already knows. I said, sit, go girl. And so now she's getting it. So a little bit of pressure is on when I'm asking her to do something. So when God asks us to do something, he puts pressure on us, gentle but healthy, firm pressure until we comply with what he's asking. He makes it feel uncomfortable for us to not be in line with his will for our life because he's got great plans for us. His plans are better than our plans. So if we follow him, we're going to find peace. But he puts pressure on us for compliance, and then he releases the pressure when we comply. Then we find peace because we know we're on the right path. So I'm going to start adding the sit now along with the follow me, yield to me. Follow me, yield to me, then we're going to add a sit. So Polly, come. So you start with the commands. I'm saying her name, and then the first command is come, Polly, come. You got to say her name, Polly, come. He called us by name. So if I'm talking to any of my other dogs, you got to say their name. Polly, stop. I do train to stop. Polly, sit, little pressure up, 2 fingers on her bottom if she needs for the sit, and then I release the pressure when she sits. And I can give her, firm, nice pressure down her back to let her know that what she's doing is right. I want more of this. Yes, give me more of this. When we're compliant with God, he gives us more blessings. That's not why we do things, is to get the blessings, but the blessings and peace come with doing what he's asked us to do. So, Polly, come. Turn the corner. So she's following. She's following. If she gets out of line with what I'm asking, I put the pressure on her. Polly, stop. Polly, sit. Little pressure up. 2 fingers on their bottom. And it's peace sign fingers. Good girl. When she sits, you release the pressure. I'm taking my other hand to hold the leash here in case she gets out of the sit, but I release the pressure and let her know that what she's doing is right, and this is what I'm very happy and pleased with her behavior, and obedience, this is, sometimes people think that, God is mean with all the rules that he gives us, but he gives us to them because he wants obedience, because with obedience comes great peace of mind and safety in our lives. They don't understand why this is important, but we do. We understand it's important for life skills to make it through life safely. So, Polly, come. Up the line. Polly, come. I'm going to say hi. Polly, come. All right, Polly, stop. Polly, sit. 2 fingers. There we go. And so, good. A yawn is a calming signal. So, she's getting pretty relaxed. You can see Barry's sleeping. Bianca's pretty relaxed. And again, Polly's learning to manage her emotions and get relaxed and find calm on command, but it's pretty much finding the peace. If we just trust God, trust Jesus to lead us, then we know that, right, God is in control. He has us in the palm of his hands, and he's gonna protect us, guide us, lead us. So the next step is adding a down. So the sit is anticipatory. So you're putting yourself in a position when we sit to receive from God. It's like the dog's waiting for what is next. She's waiting for what I'm going to tell her next. A down is really like you're getting submissive. The more the dog goes down into submissive position, it's calm submission. And we get this in the most humane way. She knows what's next is the down. So she already knows, right? So she's learning. This isn't her day one doing it, but she's still new at it. These guys have been doing it a long time. But it's basically just trusting that the human is putting healthy, gentle pressure on them in order for their highest and best good. And so it's trusting, humans learning to trust and follow God and Jesus after they've been hurt by so many humans in life. A lot of humans have trouble trusting. A lot of animals have trouble trusting. And so they trust that pressure is not bad. Pressure is good sometimes, right? Pressure helps us learn to navigate the stress of life, and healthy, gentle pressure helps us build our muscles, build our faith, build us up. So the third step is getting her in a down, and then the last is relax. And so you can see that all these dogs are getting into relax, and that's full peace of mind. I don't want a dog to roll over onto their back and show their bellies in this position. That's for another time when we're snuggling, and I'm loving on them. But this position, you want them straight in a down, because you don't need them to give up all their power to you, even though they're giving up again into full submission here. But rolling all the way over it's too much. It's out of balance. So you want them to be in straight up and down on their hips. So we're going to add that, and I'm going to show you how I do that by taking the leash and putting it. I'm going to drop the middle part of the leash. I'm going to drop my left hand, raise my toe here, balance on my heel, and pull the leash under my foot here to get her into a down. And it's gentle pressure. You want to be careful not to lift your foot. So we show them, Polly. So Polly, come. So follow me, yield to me. Just tapping the line. We say, Polly, stop, sit, holding the pressure. Polly, sit. And the pressure is released when she's complied. You can add a treat here if the dogs are worried about pressure, but she's not worried about pressure, so I don't need to add a treat. I'm going to drop the middle part of the leash under my foot, balance on my heel, raise my toe, and give her a little direction here. Polly, down. When you add the word, then that's how she knows what the command is. Then you're going to go down their back and do a slow, deep massage. Slow, deep massage. When you get to their hips, you want to ask her to pick a hip and kind of wobble them. You don't want to force them. There's a difference between enforcing and insisting a dog do something. Same thing with children. Do you force your kids to go to school, or do you insist they go to school? Do you force your kids to do chores, or do you insist they do their chores? Do you force your kids to listen to you, or you insist that they listen to you? So the words do matter. And so we're not forcing, but we're insisting, for life-saving purposes many times that the dogs listen. So that's really true for what God and Jesus are trying to do. They're trying to get us to listen to them for life-saving purposes as well. So we're going to do it again. Polly, come. Do it a little further away this time. Polly, stop. And now watch. I can even do it without giving her the command, just because the leash pressure communicates with her. So the words are for us, but this training works for deaf dogs, blind dogs, dogs with disabilities, dogs with physical issues. It's through this exercise that you're going to find out what's going on with the dog. They're going to talk to you, and they're going to communicate things to you, and it's your job to figure out what they're communicating. They communicate in a way that is different from us, not in words, but through their body language. So she's in a sit position. The next thing I'm going to add, again, is the down, Polly, down. And I'm doing gentle pressure under my foot. I'm waiting for her to figure this out. So that might take, and now she's really getting into a relaxed position here. It might take, and I can just give her a little bit of leash pressure there if she gets concerned about anything else that's going on. This might take 5 minutes to get the dog into a down, and that's okay. You should be patient with them because it's in that process that they're thinking and learning and, you know, oh, she's got an itch. Bianca, lay down. Nope, Bianca, lay down. Bianca, down. Good job. So if your dogs make a mistake, it's okay. You know, humans are not perfect. Dogs are not perfect. There's no such thing. You know, when we make a mistake, God's not mad at us, but he does give us the information to tell us, no, that's not the right decision. You know, I'd like you to make a different one. And so, and there's consequences for our, you know, disobedience, and usually that's, you know, again, gentle, healthy pressure. So it depends on, you know, how badly we're being disobedient. So, you know, for the consequence. But what I'm saying is, when we are obedient to God, finding peace of mind is the best gift, you know, that we can be given, and it's the best gift for these dogs is peace of mind as well. Polly's getting bored. She's a young pup, and so she kind of, you know, wants to play, you know, when we're doing this. And so I just didn't engage with her, you know, when she's just trying to play and be silly. You know, it's like kids in a classroom, you know, passing notes or, you know, tapping on the person in front of them. You know, you're just asking them, you know, letting them know that we're doing something right now. So I need your obedience. I need you to get calm when I ask you to, and it's all for a greater purpose, you know, and they'll realize this, you know, eventually, and the humans will realize it and appreciate it. Oops, just poked you in the eye. All right, guys, next I'm going to demonstrate with my young dog, Bianca. She has some eye issues that I noticed over time, even when she was just a few years old, that she was highly reactive. She was highly reactive to my other dogs, to humans, and I noticed that she couldn't quite make out, you know, if somebody new came in the room, or we changed our voice. Maybe, you know, we had been in the room and we changed our voice, and you know, she didn't recognize it, so she was highly reactive. I will also say that I had a blind dog. This process works for deaf dogs, you know, dogs with, you know, disabilities. It works for every dog. You're going to be able to tell things on. So you always, again, make sure leash is high up, right behind their ears, so that it's not low and putting pressure on their trachea and their vocal cords and all of that. So high up, right behind their ears. There's some muscles right here. Humans have a, you know, similar spot if you feel those muscles on the side right behind your ears. And so I have the treats on me. She's highly motivated by treats, and she's not fearful of the pressure. So Bianca, come. But she's a little more spunky than Barry. Barry's back to sleeping. Nope, but she's pulling around. She's getting a little confused. That's okay. A lot of dogs, you know, will, but you just stay with it, right? And just go, I'm just tapping the line to tell her, you know, this is where I want her to be. So Bianca, stop and sit. So when Bianca, her best buddy was our dog Diesel. He was a wonderful playmate. Bianca, come. They were best friends. Diesel was best friends with everyone. So I'm just tapping the line, asking her to stay tuned in me, stop, sit. And she might be getting too excited about the treats, so we'll put up the treats and do it different also to see. So you can just see she's just getting ahead of herself. She's just maybe too excited about the treats, and so she's not quite following what I'm asking her to do. She's thinking about something else. And so, putting the treats up might help her, so we'll do that again. But when Bianca lost Diesel, they were best buddies. They played all the time. Diesel was everyone's best friend. You know, he had a Jesus heart. And he was very tolerant of Bianca. And so we'll go to the down so she can relax. And she already knows where we're going with that. Again, because we've done this, you know, a million times. And so, but Bianca was lost without him. I mean, we all kind of were. So it's when you lose a dog in a pack, it changes the pack, changes the energy, changes, you know, status of dogs, because there is a hierarchy. So Barry's my first dog, so he goes first to get let outside and to eat and all those things. And so there's a hierarchy. So then that changes when you lose a dog. But she didn't know what to do with herself. So she would just want to play with a ball and she would get obsessed and she just didn't know what to do. It was like she was lost. So every night we had to do this. So even if I was on the phone, I could put in my headphones, but I just did this process with her and then it calmed her down. And so a lot of dogs, newly rescued dogs, I mean, all my dogs are rescues. You know, they don't have to be a rescue, you know, to have emotional issues, because dogs do have the same emotions as humans. They just communicate different. She could not calm down. So this process helped her calm down, helped her find peace, because she couldn't do it on her own. Most dogs cannot do this on their own. And again, most humans can't find peace on their own. I've tried everything in my life until I found Jesus. Everything changed, you know, and so a lot of times we'll find temporary happiness or distractions, like with a ball. So the tennis ball kept her occupied for a while. It's temporary distractions of the world keep us occupied, bring us temporary peace and joy. And so, but when that goes away, now what? Now what? And so that's why, again, Jesus changes everything. That's why I'm, you know, the life-changing dog training. That's why it's Christ-centered and Jesus is incorporated in it. It's the good news for all creatures and the gospel in dog training. So now I understand understand that, and I'm able to hopefully help you, help your dogs find peace, and you find a peace with your dogs and your walk with the Lord that you've never found before. And we're going to do this one more time. I'm going to put up the treats to see if that helps, Bianca, because sometimes we need to cut things out of our life if it's not helping us. So whether it's social media or, you know, other addictions that people have, you know, that are not helping us, sometimes we need to put that up, you know, because it's just not helpful. And maybe it's going to help her focus, you know, and focus on what God has asked you to do, what He's called you to do in your life. We all have gifts. We all have a purpose. But the world works to keep us distracted and focused on a lot of other things. And so I'm going to go through one more time and see if this helps her. Okay? Bianca, come. And she's looking at my hand. It has helped her a bit, but she might think I have something in my hand. So I'm going to just show her that I don't. Remember, I said that she has vision issues, and so I took her to an eye specialist, and they confirmed that she does have retinal deterioration. So, but she can chase a tennis ball, you know, like nobody's business. She does great at that. Good girl, B. And so instead of giving her a treat, I'm just going to give her a reward. Bianca, come. Reward of pets. A different reward. A different type of blessing. She's still getting ahead of me. So she still needs the information. Bianca, sit. Good girl. Down. And so she knows I don't have a treat in my hand, but I'm going to give her a pet. She would much prefer, you know, a treat, but that's okay. The treat, I tell people, is, you know, that your dogs get to live with you, that they're not getting returned to shelters and rescues. That's the real blessing of life, because, you know, if people ever feel bad for asking their dogs to be obedient, to put pressure on them, for kenneling them, or doing any of the things that we're doing, you know, I tell them to go to a shelter and see how many dogs, you know, are probably not going to make it out of there. They're never going to get a chance at this training, you know, and so we're killing 5,500 dogs a day in our country. You know, it's a real tragedy. And if people had these tools, though, we could really help those numbers. We can help, you know, people have the tools that they need. The number one reason that dogs are returned to shelters and rescues is because of behavior issues. And if people had the tools, you know, to be able to prevent that from happening, you know, we would keep a lot more dogs in their homes. I know this because I personally went through this with my dogs. So Barry, at 8 months old, was out of control. He was chewing things up, peeing on my, you know, my house. He was lunging and barking at, you know, people and animals when we'd go on a walk. He was, you know, out of control at the dog parks. That's a whole nother story, you know, because we recommend structured socialization, you know, not, you know, it's wonderful if you can do all of those things and if you never need training. I say it's the greatest blessing, but there are so many people and dogs that do. So I know it personally works because I had to search out this training in order to save his life. And because we were able to do that, we went on to help so many other dogs, Bianca included. So hopefully that helps. Now I'm going to show you what the communicative leashwork process, which is a long phrase. It's hard to pronounce, but you know, it's about communication and conversation with our dogs. And so it's about having a conversation with, you know, God. I didn't understand that I could have a relationship with Him where we could communicate with each other. I could hear Him, He hears me. And so we're communicating with our dogs in a way that they understand. So it's about communication, conversation, and communicative leash work process. So this process looks different for every dog. And so depending on the dog's physical issues, their age, things like that, you have to adjust the process for the dog. And so a lot of times when we take our dogs into the vet to determine what's going on with them physically, the dog's adrenaline is up, and there's a limited amount of time that the vets have with the dogs. And so Barry has a little bit of joint pain, and so him licking right now, so sometimes people would say, is that anxiety, is it allergies? Well, I know because he's my dog, that it's a little bit of joint pain. And so you're going to be able to see when we do this, he's 11 years old, and so he's older. Polly's very young, around a year or two. And all my dogs are different ages, so you're going to be able to see the difference in how it looks. And then he also has some hip issues. So I do know going into this that he does have some hip issues, but I think it will be beneficial for you to see that and how you're going to be able to see on camera. And so we've been able to, with this process, we've been able to see if a dog has hip issues, knee issues, if they have eyesight issues, a lot of things, that you're able to tell with this process just by slowing down and taking the time to look at how the dog responds to pressure, okay? So he doesn't need the treats, but leash work isn't his favorite thing. Chasing tennis balls and squirrels is. So we're going to use that to help him. And with older dogs, I think it's beneficial to use treats too. So Barry, come. Because they might not be used to having pressure put on them. And so he's very good at this. Again, he's done it, for Barry, come. But he just says, I'd rather go lay back down. Barry, hey, Bear. Bear, come. So we're just going to do this just a little bit. And then hopefully, Barry, come. You can see his back end. Barry, come. When you slow him down, you should be able to see his back end. I think, it says back right or is his back left? But you can just see, that, and he's 11 years old, so I don't, we're holding off on surgery. Barry, come. Barry, stop. Barry, sit. And so again, he's just done this. You have to be careful if dogs have knee and hip issues when you're putting pressure on them to ask them to sit. And if a dog cannot hold a sit, a lot of times when they're young, I'm just going to go into the down and then I'll explain this to you. Barry already knows where I'm going with this because he's done it, 1 million times probably. And so, good boy, Bear. And so I'll explain if a dog cannot hold a sit, a lot of times that is from the dog being young and not having impulse control, and they have a hard time sitting still. It can be from that. But if a dog is repeatedly getting out of the sit, after many times of this exercise, it's time to probably make sure the dog's hips are okay. Work with your vet in order to make sure, that nothing is going on there. Their hips or their knees. We see a lot of knee issues with dogs nowadays as well. And so that's also, it's okay just to move to the down, to get them off of the pressure of their hips. And also if they have knee issues. So it's important that you're mindful about that, and a lot of times you're going to be able to see the dog's physical issues, and then how to work with them, based upon that, okay? So that's Barry. More about the communicative leash work process. It is the most important foundation for every training exercise that we do. So every tool that we use in the training program is built and taught to the dog through this process. So although we start out on a slip lead, you can add a training collar and do the same process, an e-collar, do the same process, and you add on each tool, you layer on the tool to the slip lead, or you use the pressure the same way it is taught with the slip lead. So always make sure, again, you take the leash across your body, one hand through the handle. If you have a regular leash, that's fine too. But it should be like handlebars. Your dog should always be on the side of you. So Polly, see if the best place for her to be is facing forward and by my side, so that I can step in front of my dog if I need to, but they shouldn't be in front of you when you are walking them. And if they get out of place, just turn them around, spin back around, and get them back in place, because your dog is going to often get out of place, and especially if you're using treats. I'm going to go through and show how to use treats with a dog that if they're nervous, afraid, fearful about the pressure, you should be using treats. And also dogs that are highly motivated with food, it does help for them just to get to the answer faster. I say it's like using flashcards if you're teaching a kid math. It just helps them get to the what you're asking them to do faster. And so if I'm luring, I'll talk about that. There's luring and marking. So we're going to start, and we're just going to go over the same foundation that we did before, giving the commands, you know, and she knows that I have the treats on me, obviously. And so, Polly, come. So when I cut the corner, it's her job to yield to me, and no pressure on the leash. So my arm should be, your arm should be by your side. I'm just giving her a little bit of pressure to get out of my way there. When I stop, do a little bit of pressure here, 2 fingers for the sit. Now she swings around. Again, that's not the position that you want her to be in when all this is said and done. You want her, again, to be right on your side facing forward, your dog. Okay, Polly, come. And I just marked her with a treat there. So we stop, sit, little pressure up, 2 fingers, and now she's not getting as far ahead of me. She's sitting and she's turning off the pressure, and then I'm giving her a reward to tell her, yes, good job, I want more of that. So this helps the dog not to be fearful of the pressure, because dogs need to understand, just like humans, that all pressure is not bad. If she gets distracted by something, I'm just holding a little bit of pressure and releasing it when she gets tuned back into me. But the pressure is to tell her, no, I don't need you to get distracted with anything. Stay focused on me. How God wants us to keep our eyes on him. Stay focused on him. Don't get distracted by other things in the world. So, you know, he's got a way that he communicates to us. This is the way we're communicating with our dogs. And so there's nothing wrong with rewarding your dog when they're giving you the behavior that you want from them. That God gives us blessings when we're being obedient to him and doing the things that he asks us to do. So obedience is important. We don't understand why it's important always to be obedient to God. They don't understand why it's important to be obedient to us. But they show their respect for us and their love for us by being obedient, and we do the same for God by being obedient to him. And so although she got out of it, she says she's ready to go. She got out of the sit, but and there's a yawn, which is a calming signal. But I'm not ready to go yet. So I just asked her to hold the position. Again, go on my lead. Don't go on her time. Go on my time, right? And so a lot of times we try to get ahead of God, and he says, no, wait for me. Go on my time. Don't be trying to get ahead of my plans for you, because this is patience. This is, again, obedience, and this is what leads to peace. And so and just waiting, because self-control, impulse control is really hard for humans and animals. But in my opinion, it's one of the most important things that we can teach them. So, ready? Polly, come. So now she's understanding that when I cut that corner, I just need her to, give me space there. Polly, stop. Polly, sit. Good job. And now she's lining up more with me. And so, she's not spinning around. Because the reason, again, you don't want your dog spun around, or you don't want to spin around, because you're going to miss what's in front of you when you're teaching your dog. When you take this out into the world, your dog should be right by your side. Like Jesus is right by our side. Your dog should be right by our side. And yes, this is very good. So I'm marking her with the treats. And again, this is just the blessing that comes, with walking with the Lord. And so we'll get to the leave it exercise. She did very good, exhibiting impulse control, not to go for that treat. And so there's lots of things that distract us in the world, but not acting on our emotions. That's what brings the true blessing in life. And so she knows. All right, Polly, come. We're just going to keep moving forward. Now we'll add that was the sit. So follow me, yield to my space, stop, Polly, sit, 2 fingers. And now I'm not even touching her back end. I'm just giving her, making her aware of it, and she's giving it, on her own with less pressure, a little bit of pressure up here with the leash. Now we're going to add the down, dropping the middle part of the leash, Keep your heel on the ground, raise your toe. And again, this is alluring. So a lot of dogs get nervous about the down. It is the most vulnerable position for the dog. So I'm pulling the leash as I'm luring down here with the treat. Then I'm going down her back to do a slow, deep massage, and I'm going to ask her to pick a hip. And when I ask her, meaning I'm putting enough pressure on her for her to make a decision to pick a hip. You don't want to force your dog. There's a difference between forcing and insisting. And so I'm putting enough pressure on her. So God puts pressure on us to get into the right alignment for what he has for our life. And so he puts pressure on us. And then when we get in the right spot, we go, oh, this feels really good. And this is where I find peace. And so now she's rolled on her hip. The leash is still under my foot here. I'm going to be careful to take the treat right down to her so she does not have to jump up to the treat. But now I can pull the leash here if I need to. If she gets focused on something else that she's not supposed to, I can just pull the leash here. So you put it under the arch of your shoe. You know, and this is very important for her dogs to start holding this position. So this is a down, this is a proper down. You don't want dogs rolling onto their back, giving you full submission. That's, you know, out of alignment and out of balance for what we want for the dogs. And so we just want them stayed, tuned into what we're asking them to do next. And so Polly, come. We'll do that again. Now she's doing those corners very well. Polly, stop, sit. Now I don't even have to take my hand back there. And now she's already knowing where I'm going. Now again, this isn't her first time doing this. Now she's giving me the hip roll on her own, which means she's very relaxed. So dogs are always talking to us. They don't use the same verbal language that we do. They use a different language. So they're saying they're relaxed, they're relaxed. She's relaxed by giving me a hip roll. If a dog can't go on their hip, they're telling you they're not relaxed yet. Bianca. So, no, Bianca, lay down. Bianca, down. So Bianca just had trouble there holding the position that I've asked her to do, you know, and so that's fine. But what I want you to understand is it is important for her to be obedient and to stay still for what I'm asking. And that is the final position. So this is how we start in getting to that place of, you know, peace. And this is on an unfixed surface. That's on a fixed surface. So I'm going to put Bianca back to where I asked her to go, and we're just continue this exercise so that you can see how it goes. And so when you practice this every day, so you know, do 10 minutes a day, it will change a dog's life. And so that's why we call it life-changing dog training. And it will change your life because you will be able to have calm and peace in your household, a peace that you've never felt before because the dogs have peace. And so, Polly, come. So now the commands, Bianca, come. Bianca, place. It's important. Bianca, sit. Bianca, down. Good job. So, but I'm not going to give her a treat that time because she messed up, but I will come back and give her a treat. But you can see how it's important to use your dog's name, guys, before you give them a command. So, right, Polly, come. Barry's sleeping, and so I'm not going to worry about giving him a treat. But I will give Bianca a treat for, you know, holding position there. Polly, come. So I'm talking to Polly when I say, you know, whichever dog Polly sit, I'm talking to, I need to say their name and then the command. Because how will your dog know which dog you're talking to if you have multiple dogs? Even if you have one dog and you don't say their name before you give a command, she's already going to go into the position on her own, and I want you to see how the dogs start making good choices on their own without you telling them. So because she knows, you're training their brain, you're training their body, you know, to get into obedience, to get into alignment with what feels good and right, which is peace and calmness. And that's what God wants for us, happiness, joy, right? That's what he wants. And so if you don't say your dog's name before you give them a command, the dogs could think you're talking to your husband, your kids, or someone else in your house. They don't know you're talking to them. So it is very important that you use their name when you're talking to them. So I'm going to go through this one more time, but Polly's doing great so that you guys can see how, you know, what is the point of this, right? Walking around in a circle, you know, seems like it, you know, what's the big deal? Well, it's the biggest deal, you know, and it's the foundation and the process that I figured out that works for thousands of dogs and has changed thousands of dog owners' lives, including my own life with my dogs. And so we're going to do it one more time so that you can see. Polly, come, but she did great there. and now. And I might not even have to give her the, the words now. Polly, sit. Well, now she's flipped around. So like I said, Polly, come. If your dog gets twisted, Polly, sit. Polly, down. There you go. And I didn't have a treat in my hand that time. That's important. So don't trick your dog with a treat. Don't make them think you have one and then you don't have a treat in your hand, because they will get frustrated. I mean, who wouldn't? Because, you're telling them that you have a treat and then you don't. So it's confusing to them. So when I start fading out the treats, guys, I have my hands open as I'm pointing to the ground. No, Polly. And so they know that it's coming later. But then you can start fading that out, and sometimes she will get a treat and sometimes she won't. But dogs and humans need to be obedient regardless of if the blessing comes or not, regardless if the treat comes or not to them, right? And so she doesn't know if she's going to get a treat, but she still needs to be obedient. My dogs still need to be obedient with what I've asked them. Bianca got a treat. Barry has stomach issues, so I'm not going to give him these treats, although he might be fine. But he looks fine right now, so he's just relaxed and calm. And so, no, Polly, and it also helps with dogs that have impulse control issues around food. So it is important that you practice around food, especially, if it makes the dog too wild and they can't focus, then you can add it later. But it's your job to figure out what tools, just like for your children, what helps them and what is hindering them, And so, again, that's what God works with each of his children in order to talk and communicate with them and help them the best way, But this is a process that works for every dog, every behavior issue. You just have to adjust it based on the dog. And so we're going to go through and show you how it looks on different dogs next.